negative Nancy's, right? I've always see that odd, weird scenario of somebody always want to downplay something, always want to bring up what if scenarios, or what if you can't ramp, or what if you can't play this card, what if you can't this, what if you can't. There's always negativity. Whenever somebody wants to say something, it's always with the idea of being negative. Like sometimes I'll get comments like that where somebody will try to be like, if you played me, I wouldn't let you ramp with your Super Saiyan 4, Vegeta leader. Like, okay, good. Don't let me ramp. As a player, you're supposed to do your best to try to stop me from doing what I'm trying to do, right? Don't let me do what I want to do, because if I succeed in doing what I want to do, I'm going to get the results that I want, right? I have a plan, I have a strategy. If I have a win con and my plan is to get to turning, to 7 energy and drop turning tides and win the game that way, then I highly suggest you don't let me do that. But to try to use the fact that you could do that, right? You could stop me. You could prevent me from ramping, or you'll try to, right? As proof that me wanting to ramp and play turn tides as my win comp, for example, is a bad idea. That's ignorant. That's stupid. It's like, just because you can stop me doesn't mean you're definitely going to. Can it happen? Yes. And if it does, it does. Then you got that. Good for you. That's part of the game. That's the nature of the game. You know what I mean? Nothing is 100% guaranteed, right? Except death and taxes, right? But nothing is a for sure thing, per se, right? Especially in card games. Anything can happen. I can miss my ramp, right? I could ramp to 7 energy, right? And not even draw not a single one of the copies of my turning of tides. Right? Or if I ramped from the top of my deck, every time I triggered my ramp ability, my turning tides kept getting charged, right? Kept getting ramped. Like, shit. No, not my win con. My win con shouldn't be going into the energy. It should be in my hand, right? Now you can say, then use the blue Zeno super combo to bounce it to your hand. Like, yeah, that'd be a way to fix that. Obviously, if I'm ever in that scenario. But, shit happens, right? The point is just because a strategy, a win con, or just in general, just because you can beat a strategy, right, doesn't mean the strategy is not worth playing, right? And I see that a lot, especially in other card games, like in Yu-Gi-Oh! I saw that a lot. People trying to tell me that that a 4-card OTK ain't worth playing. And it's like, okay, why? Oh, because I'll have this card and I'll have that card. It's like, oh, the what if game. Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with the what if game. People love playing that game for some reason. The what if I had this? What if I had that? It's like, well, if you have it, and you'll win. Good for you. If you have the ability to stop me from winning with my 4-card OTK, then do so. And don't let me win. Because here's what happens when I don't win with my win con. You get to win. Yay! That's how that works. So if you can stop me, right? If you can't beat me, then great. But don't use that as an excuse. Don't use that as a justifiable reason, as proof, evidence that my 4-card OTK is not worth playing just because you could stop me. You could prevent me from winning with it. That's not a reason to not play something. Right? Or let me rephrase that. That's not a good enough reason for me not to play something. It just means I need to come to make sure that doesn't happen. So I need to play it better. That means I need to play it at the right time. Like, there's plenty of times where I had to tell people that you do know the idea of like a OTK or something, that is that you wait until it's the right time to play it. It's not as soon as you have the cards to do the combo, you immediately do it. No, because if your opponent has answers, right, they have responses, they have ways to stop you, they will stop you. So the idea is to make sure they can't. Like, for example, in Yu-Gi-Oh!, always pointing out the idea of, like, I have these face down traps. Yeah, and that's what Giant Trunade is for, and that's what Heavy Storm is for, and Harpy's Feather Duster. Like, that's where, traps done, and playing something like Jinzo or something, so your opponent can't activate traps. Like, there's there's cards that can be used in the combo that can prevent your opponent from stopping your combo. Right? So if your main solution to stopping my OTK is that you have traps, then I'll just play cards that stop your traps. I'll play cards that get rid of your traps, to destroy your traps. That way you can't use them. So if you can't use them, then what? You lose, right? Because then the OTK will be played, and you will lose because you literally don't have the cards to stop it, because I made sure you didn't. That's how you know a good player is good, because they take that to account and they prepare for it, right? That's why it's always funny to put time and effort into something. Like, I even had this whole like turn 3 OTK where I could do like 24 damage type thing in Dragon Ball Super many years ago. Not many, but like at least three years ago. And somebody was like, they're not impressed with a 24 damage turn 3 combo. And it's like, okay, if it was a turn 2 it'd be better. One, no one's doing turn 3 OTKs at that time anyway, or even doing nowhere near 24 damage on turn 3. So that alone is impressive. Saying turn 2 is like, no one else is doing a lot of damage on turn 2. So saying, oh, this would be better if it was turn 2, you're not impressed, is implying that other decks, other strategies do spam on turn 2. It's like, but nobody else is spamming on turn 2. People are playing their second energy and that's it. Maybe they'll play a 2-drop battle card, but that's about it. And this is way before we had Unison, so ain't nobody playing no turn 2 Unison. Maybe a turn 2 objection, ramp back in that time, but that's about it. On turn 2, typically they just kept the energy up just so they can use it for their negates. So the idea of like a turn 2 OTK deck strategy already was rare at that time. Already was rare, very rare. Not impossible, don't get me wrong, there were some strategies back then, but it was very rare. So a turn 3 or turn 4 was more plausible. Like, like you could do some really good stuff on turn 3 and turn 4 because you had more energy, especially if you had a leader that untaps 2 energy. You essentially had like 5 to 6 energy in that turn when you awaken your leader. If you were playing a lot of cheap cards, a lot of 1-drops, 2-drops, you could do a lot. But it was just funny, the idea of like, oh, turn 3, that's too late. You should do it earlier. It's like the fact that I can do it at all is what's impressive. But that's the thing, there's always somebody out there trying to be a negative Nancy. And there was 2 things that I noticed back then. Was one of the reasons why the negativity, the whole against a certain idea, was, and it still holds true today, it's the status quo idea. When in the community, when certain ideas, certain concepts like meta decks and whatnot, when those are a thing, people want to keep that a thing and they don't want it to change. So when somebody like myself does something different and be like, hey, look, turn 3 OTK, right? Somebody will look down on it and be like, oh, that's not a big deal, blah, 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 be negative Nancy, right? Just try to throw negativity towards the idea. It's like, why would you be against this? It sounds like a great idea. You think as a player of the game, you'd be interested in this type of information. You'd be interested in a different way of winning the game, or just doing something that wasn't possible before, right? If we still haven't gotten an FTK, even though some people try to say that the King Vegeta deck was an FTK. It wasn't an FTK, it was an OTK. An FTK is you go first, right? You charge 1 energy, and then bang, you go off and beat your opponent. That would be an FTK. It ain't FTK when you go first, then your opponent goes second, right? Then you go, and then on your second turn, when you have 2 energy, then you go off. It's like, no, that's an OTK. That's a 1-turn kill, not a first turn kill. First turn is when you charge that first energy. That's the first turn. So we still don't have a first turn kill. You know, even when we had Mecha Frieza at full power back in the day, that wasn't a first turn kill, that was an OTK. You know? And that had the potential to be a 1-turn. Going first. When you go, not first. When you attack first, right? Attack first. Because your opponent goes first, you go second, right? And you can go off. So a turn 1, I'll put it that way, turn 1 kill, as opposed to a 1-turn kill. A turn 1 kill, it makes sense. So a turn 2 or a 1-turn kill, King Vegeta deck makes more sense. But saying FTK, no, FTK is the first turn of the game, not your first turn, right? Because then that'd just be turn 1 kill. That wouldn't be a first turn kill. Anyway, so it's just one of the many things out there that I be seeing a lot going on. Is the idea of like, we don't want things to be to change and to be different. We don't want people to try different things and experiment differently. We want people to play predictably. We want people to play a certain way. We want to be able to predict and stuff like that. And I understand that. That's why it's like, understand the competitive scene and I see how different it is compared to the casual scene. Because casual, we'll try everything. We'll experiment. Being different is great in that category. But competitively, y'all like predictability. Y'all like everybody to be playing the same thing. If somebody's playing blue, you expect them to be playing, gas ceiling trunks or something like that, right? Like you expect certain staples, you expect certain cards. So then you prepare for that. You prepare to deal with it. You try to gain the experience of playing against a deck that has gas ceiling trunks, right? For example, y'all like that predictability. Y'all don't want randomness when y'all play competitively. You want things to be predictable. You want specific lines of play, your lines of play, your opponent's lines of play, and so forth and so forth. And I get it. I understand the reason y'all want that. I disagree with it. I'm against the idea of predictability. I prefer people to be unpredictable. At least make sure your deck is unpredictable. It's hard to know what your deck can and can't do. You don't want people to know the strengths and weaknesses of your deck. That's a bad idea. It's just like somebody knowing the strengths and weaknesses of you in real life, and then somebody tries to take advantage of your weaknesses, right? Try to exploit you. You don't want that, right? You want to be unpredictable, in life, just like you want to be unpredictable when you play the game. And that's how I play. I play, with the intention of being unpredictable. That's why I'm always trying to come up with different ways of doing the same thing, right? That's why I have multiple Hatchag builds, right? Because I don't want my Hatchag build to be too predictable. After a while, I do come up with certain staples, certain cards that you'll see a lot in a lot of my builds, right? But that's just because they're very good at what they do and what they're used for. So I'm going to keep using them, obviously. So those would be, predictable, useful cards. But I still would tweak other cards. So like I have the core, right? The core engine, basically. So these are the core staples. They'll be in all my Hatchag builds because they work. But then I have some, I'll make some space, and that's where all the spice and the text comes in. All the extra stuff will come in. The stuff that will allow me to play the game differently. That way I win differently. That's where I can switch up the play style. I could go aggro with Hatchiak, for example, or I can or I can go mill or burn. I can go hand control, and the list goes on and on of the different ways I can play out. I could play Hatch, right? Even though the core of the deck will largely be the same stuff, it's the play style and how I play it is what will change. And that's the other thing is, it's always annoying that people will try to, well, from my experience anyway, will try to make it seem like I play a certain way in which I would lose, or, like they know they try to tell me how I play, so they know how to beat me because they think they know how I play, and it's like, no, you're assuming that I wouldn't do that, right? You're assuming that I wouldn't make sure that you have no way of stopping me from playing my win con. You're assuming that I haven't taken that to account. That's the thing. Too many people make the assumption that they think that you don't think about certain things, that you don't plan for certain things, you have no strategy for certain outcomes. And that's the thing. That's the whole negative Nancy concept, right? It's just the idea of like, what if, like, trying to find ways to basically say you're wrong about something, or just to make you wrong. I could be like, oh, this is a really good strategy, this is very consistent, you can win a lot with this strategy, and then they'll try to find ways to be like, no, you can't win consistently with that, because of this reason, that reason, being negative, which is, ignorant. It's like, why are you wasting time being negative when you can try to be positive, right? Why don't you try to make the strategy work? Why don't you try to make it consistent? I have had some people comment before, saying that my decks aren't good, right? They can't deal damage, they can't do this, they can't do that. And it's like, you're saying a lot of things about what my deck can't do, but you haven't, one, proven it, because you haven't even tried the deck, and I have. So I know it can do what I say it does. So that's why it would be weird to be like, oh no, it can't do this, it can't do this. It's like, well, if the deck can't, in your, quote unquote professional opinion, can't do the thing I'm saying that it does do, then give me tips to make it do it. If I say, I have a deck that can turn 3 turning into tides, for example, right? That'd be pretty cool. Drop turning tides that's on turn 3, so you have that advantage, right? And just be swinging 30k crit every turn. That'd be awesome, right? Especially if you can draw a whole bunch of cards afterwards, right? Swing with the leader, swing with your unison, right? I mean, +1 with your unison, draw, right? And get your hand size back up, so that way, faster than your opponent can do it, right? That'd be cool. So, that'd be kind of cool. Anyway, just thought of a strategy. I think there's a leader I could use with turning the tides. It'll be epic. But anyway, so if I have a strategy where I could play him on turn 2, right now I actually have a strategy where I could play turning the tides on turn 4. So that's why I said turn 3, because it's more obviously hypothetical. It's like, hypothetically, if objection exists, I could, it wouldn't be turn 3. I wouldn't be able to do it turn 3, even if objection was available. Give me a second. Yeah, I wouldn't be able, even with objection, I wouldn't be able to do a turn 3 turning the tides, because the Goku Black leader, got errata to prevent objection being used, or anything similar to that, in the same turn in which you use the leader's effect. So I wouldn't be able to do that. But the old Goku Black, yes, I could potentially do a turn 3, potentially a turn 3, turning the tides. But anyway, a turn 4 turning tides is good enough, right? That's already impressive enough. A turn 4 turning tides. So that's so since I can do turn 4. So like I say, if I could do a turn 3 hypothetically, then somebody will point out, oh, it doesn't work, la la la. They'll try to make excuses to make the idea not good, right? When they should try to come up with ways to make it work if they truly believe it doesn't work. Because if it doesn't work, then show me how can it work, right? That's the most logical thing to do, especially because that's weird, right? People will talk like they're an expert, like they know something, but in reality they don't. Like, how are you going to say the idea doesn't work when you haven't even tried the idea? And for you to say that it doesn't work, that means you know how it can work, which means you know that my way doesn't work, but there is a different way that does work. Because if your idea is just like, well, I just don't think it works. Okay, you think it doesn't work, but you don't know it doesn't work. There's a difference. So then that just means you're just stating an opinion, not a fact. And no one cares about opinions, realistically anyway. Because I know I don't care about opinions. I care about facts. So give me facts. Give me proof. Give me truth. If you can prove that a strategy of mine doesn't work, and then give me a solution to make it work, that I'll be interested. But if you can't, if all you have is you think my idea doesn't work, or you think my idea is bad, then that's nothing. That means nothing. You need to be able to prove that it doesn't work, and then have a solution to the problem, right? And that goes back to that concept of critiques. The idea of a critique is that you're noticing a problem, an issue, and then you have a solution for it, and you'll make a suggestion on how to improve and fix the issue. It makes no sense to complain about something and then not have a solution for it. Then you're not really critiquing. You're just complaining. And no one wants to hear somebody else complain. No one cares about other people's complaints, personal issues, right? If you have a problem, or you see a problem, if you see a problem, come up with a solution. Otherwise, keep your thoughts to yourself, because no one cares if you think something is wrong when you don't even have proof of it. So that's the thing I see a lot, that, because another thing was the idea of seeing some people, talk about like certain decks being good versus certain decks not being good, and it's like, and I'll be thinking it's like, actually that deck is actually good. I don't know what you're talking about. That deck's actually good. You guys are just not playing the deck. And then, like, let's say a couple months later, suddenly the deck's topping. It's like, and people are like, oh my god, who would have guessed that this deck was actually good, blah blah blah. It's like, and all I can think is like, me, I knew it was good since it first was spoiled. It was obviously a good deck. But then you have people who be like, oh, this deck's not good, this deck's not viable, blah blah blah, this deck is not great. Oh, that reminds me of that one time where Joey mentioned a certain deck not being good. Can't remember what deck it was. He said it wasn't good, but he was like saying the deck wasn't good. But the thing is, he actually didn't even try it yet. But then the next day, especially after I made the comment and pointed out that he did that, obviously we had a back and forth about it, but and it's just funny, he made a video where he actually did play it, right? So he finally plays the deck, and then he has all these positive things to say about the deck. And it's like, wait a minute, you have a video putting down the deck, and then you have a video afterwards promoting the deck. And the only difference is, the first video, you didn't play the deck, and you're giving an opinion on the deck without trying it. So then your opinion was just an opinion. It wasn't based off of facts. But the thing is that since you have an audience, right, and people are watching this, people are like, oh, okay, the deck is trash because Joey said so. But then you have another video where it's like, oh yeah, the deck's really good, blah blah blah, and you're giving the deck, a high praise after you actually tried it. So that's a little confusing, don't you think? Because now people have this mindset of like, wait, didn't you say it was bad, but now you're saying it's good? It's like, which one is it? Somebody tried to defend Joey when I pointed that out. That hypocrisy, the whole like, saying the deck was bad before he even tried it, and then when he tried it, he was like, oh, okay, actually it's good. I was, and then somebody tried to defend it. It's like, oh, but it's okay because it's about learning and growing and this, that, third. It's like no, that's bullshit. As a content creator, I'm not one, but for those who are content creators, it's like your job, especially as somebody who plays the game, and you gotta remember your audience is watching you for information, knowledge. They're not watching you for your random, untruthful opinions. They expect everything that comes out your mouth to be true. Therefore, when you say something is not good, they're going to take your word for it. They're trusting your professional, judgment, right? Your experience, your expertise on the game, on the matter. So they trusting what you have to say. So if you say something is bad, they're going to believe it. So that's why when you turn around and be like, oh, actually I was wrong, it's like, that's not good. Don't make a habit of contradicting yourself, right? Don't make a habit of saying something in one point and then changing it at another point. Don't do that, right? Your job as a content creator for card games, for example, is to do the work and the research and the play testing, right? And all that extra stuff that most people don't do, right? There's a reason why a lot of people net deck, because they don't want to put the time and effort to read cards and figure shit out themselves and build the decks themselves. So they rely on people like myself to build the decks for them, right? To figure out strategies and card combinations and, different lines of plays, tech cards and spicing or whatever you want to call it. They rely on us to do the due diligence, right? To do what we're good at and then share the results of our efforts. That's why opinions are terrible. Always will be, because opinions are always lies anyway. So that's why it's a problem when you have content creators out there, giving out their opinions, and a lot of times they don't even state it as it's an opinion. Right? They don't give you the disclaimer that this video is going to be an opinion video, for example. So that way people would know right off the bat, like, okay, everything in this video is going to be opinion based. It's not going to be based off of any truth, any facts. Okay, so I won't assume everything is fact, right? Fair enough. But sometimes people don't do that. They don't do the disclaimer that, oh yeah, this video is a opinion video, right? They'll just be like, they'll say whatever they feel like saying, right? And then not realize that a lot of people are going to take it as facts. Because most people are going to assume once they see a video, by default, it's fact-based. But yeah, sometimes I run into the issue where some people don't, even though in the videos I answer all the questions, I take a lot to account. So I already mentioned all the strengths and weaknesses of a deck. Somebody will still come up and still try to tell me, oh, but the deck is weak against this and weak against that and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, I know, I already mentioned that in the video. If you actually watch the video like you're supposed to, watch the whole entire video, not just the first 2 minutes of it, but watch the whole entire 30-minute video, you would have known that I already knew that, and I already said that, and I mentioned that in the video already. And it's a pattern that I see a lot. Too many people don't want to put in the time and effort to do what they're supposed to do, which is, watch a full video, for example, and then get all the information from the video, get all their possible questions answered from the video first. Now, if I left out anything in my videos and then you want to talk about it afterwards, you want to point out that something was missing, that's fine. Then we'll complete right, we'll complete the situation in the comment section, right? If you have a question or you notice there was something missing in the video, all right, then put the information in the comments, so that way somebody else who watches the video and goes to the comment section will get that information. But it makes no sense to ignore the video, right? Not to watch the video, but then start commenting and be like, oh, but this card, you can only use the first effect, can't use the second effect of the card, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, I know that. In the video, I say that the card is in here only for one reason only. It's for that one effect, and that's the only effect we need. We don't need the full effect of a card. We just need one of the effects for whatever reason I'm using it for, right? Let's say I'm using a Zamasu super combo, but the only reason I'm using it is because it is a Zamasu and it's blue and yellow, and I actually charge it turn 1 as energy, and that's the reason it's in the deck, right? And let's say the leader is not blue or yellow. Let's say the leader is green, right? Then they'll be like, wait, why are you using that super combo if it doesn't work with the leader, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, because it's a blue, yellow Zamasu, and I need it to charge as energy turn 1. Even though I get no effects of the card, I still get the 0 cost 10k combo power. I can still combo the card, I just don't get the effects. That is okay, but what I need is the colors, and I need it to be a Zamasu. Those details are explained in the video if you actually watch the video, right? But instead of somebody actually watching the video and getting that information, that detail, right, which is very important detail, they'll just look at the deck, let's see the super combo with a green leader, and be like, nah, something's wrong here. Oh, you stupid, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to build decks, blah, 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 blah. It's like, man, you really didn't watch the video, because I explained in the video why the card is in there, and why it makes sense if you listen to my my reasoning, my logic, my explanation for why the card is in there. I do experiment with things, I try different things. And that's what makes the game fun, is doing different things, trying things differently, experimenting. It's not everything is literally color coded, right? Not every, like, I can use a Zamasu super combo with a green leader if I want. I just gotta be able to justify why I'm doing that. I agree, there's tons of other options. With a green leader, I'm better off playing Android 18 Bionic Blitz super combo, or the Nappa super combo, or now we have the Cell Awaken super combo, because it's a green yellow super combo. So those 3 super combos I could use with a green leader, right? But again, if I can justify using a blue yellow super combo with a green leader, then I can justify it if I have a justification for it. So it shouldn't be a problem if I can justify it. It's only a problem if there is no justification for it, so then it's there for no reason. And if it's there for no reason, then yeah, I understand that be an issue. It's like, why do you have a card that you're not going to use at all in the deck? It's like, right? Common sense. But anyway, enough about the negative Nancy's. There's always somebody that wants to complain about something. That just lets me know most people are closed-minded. They're not open-minded. They're not looking to learn. They're just looking to just talk out loud, right? Say what's on their mind, as if what they think or believe is more important than what somebody else thinks or believes. And this is where you get that into the toxic part of the community, where you have people are insisting on playing certain things in a certain way, and whenever somebody does something different, they want to complain. And it's not too different from just life in general, because even in real life you deal with this bullshit where people are like, they do things a certain way and then they want everybody to do the same thing. And it's like, no, people can do things differently. I agree that to a certain degree that it is better to do what everybody else is doing just because it works. If it works, it works, right? If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. But sometimes doing things differently is a good thing. This is how we get, smartphones and stuff like that, and podcasts, right, and YouTube and card games, like, because people are always trying something different. So we get a lot of new and exciting things, and life is more interesting when you're doing things differently more often than when you're doing the same thing everybody already is doing, right? If the format is boring and stale, right, then start experimenting, start coming up with other strategies, start playing some old leaders. Shit, I'm always thinking about like a lot of the old leaders of like what I can do with them. Like right now, the way a lot of these decks are. For example, a lot of the decks out here right now are, that are popular anyway, are drawing a lot of cards. So some of the popular decks out there are decks that draw a lot, or just do a lot in a single turn. So people are obviously gravitating to that. But let's just focus on the drawing part. So there's certain decks that people are drawn to that draw a lot of cards. So because of that, because of drawing a lot of cards, you might want to lean, which is what I'm doing, lean towards the strategy of reducing your opponent's hand size. So looking for effects, cards that can reduce your opponent's hand size, preferably in one turn, instead of trying to do some hand control thing, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 type stuff, right? Try to deal with your opponent's hand all in one turn. Is a viable strategy, right? It's a really good strategy. Like, let's say, plus another thing is people drawing a lot, then mill is more viable. So you can consider, playing mill strategy, like Janemba. I'm working on a Janemba build. I know there's many other people working on Janemba. So don't be surprised you start seeing, Janemba topping again. There's people playing Hatchak right now. People, there's some people, try and play set 2 Zamasu. I might be a reason for that. I might be the inspiration for playing those leaders, but you get the idea. There's like that's the direction the game is currently going. I mean, I'm definitely going that direction. The whole hand thing, because I got my cell deck, so the no hand combo where I'm ripping my opponent's hand with Perfect Force Cell. I'm using Chain Zeno, Zeno the playing god, Android 17 Turn the Ties, the 8-drop Gogeta, the 3-drop Piccolo, so I forgot what it's called, First Strike Piccolo or something, whatever it's some strike Piccolo. It's a 3-drop. It's an old card, and looking into utilizing those cards, teching them, using them as tech cards, spice, right? Tech them into certain decks so I can get the most out of them. Even this 1-drop Gowasu that I like to use in most of my blue mill decks, or just most of my blue decks. I'm definitely going to try to use it more. He lets me look at the top 3 cards of my opponent's deck and then put it back in any order I want. So combining that with Janemba lets you mill your opponent's best cards, and then when your opponent draws for their turn, it will always be the shitty cards, right? The cards you want, you have no problem your opponent drawing, but all your opponent's good cards will be in the drop because you keep milling them on purpose, right? So you use Gowasu's effect, manipulate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, then attack with Janemba, the leader, right? And your opponent mills 2, so 2 good cards are gone, and you just do that every turn, bang bang bang, and that way not only are you milling your opponent, right, you're controlling their hand, which is the most important thing. You're controlling the hand. You're controlling what is in the hand. So now you know what's in the hand because you saw the cards. So you know what's in their hand. You know it's shitty cards because you made sure they are shitty cards, right? So you're hurting your opponent in that regards. And then if you're hitting your opponent with crit damage, like a unison that has crit, like the Janemba Wicked unison, and you're hitting them with that, like bang bang bang, you know what I mean? Then they're not adding no cards to hands. So right there, just those 3 cards alone, that 1-drop Gowasu, the Janemba, Unison, plus the Janemba Leader. Just those 3 cards alone is going to give you huge advantage and control of your opponent's hand, right? While still being able to apply pressure and have a secondary win con, which is you either knock your opponent out by dealing them 8 damage or you mill them out. But ultimately, you're just trying to use mill as a form of control, not necessarily a win con. But if you win by milling them out, great, right? Take advantage of that. Enjoy, use it. I'm also going to incorporate a Vegeta Ready to Rumble card, loop. So being able to use that over and over again in case my opponent wants to attack, they're going to have to give up energy to do so, which is going to hurt them because they're not getting more energy. They're losing energy, which is good, right? So in order for them to keep having energy, they gotta keep playing cards, right, into their energy area, which means less cards they're gonna have to play against you. So that kind of stuff. That's the end of the video.